Bishop Brian Green spied us out as soon as you posted it. And he texted and said, hey, that was great.
We're now live on YouTube. Woo.
So that was great that we could all get together and share information. So hello, everyone, and welcome to BLAW Live. And it's great to be here with Pastor Virginia Ward on my left and your right. And Tony McGrath is here as well as our business manager. And we're going to be talking for a few moments as people would come in. We're going to be talking about reopening and what that might look like for particularly the Abundant Life Church. And so as we do so, we're going to give you a chance to give some feedback and some comments on that, just have a dialogue. And as long as we're flowing, we'll still kind of keep it rolling up to 60 minutes. But it's going to be certainly at the liberty of you, the audience, and you asking questions. And so it's exciting to be here for BLAW Live. And thank you so much for joining us each and every week as we present some topics that we feel that are important, relevant, encouraging, inspiring, but also to inform you and to even educate. And it's really been a fun thing for me to be here and have many different guests from different parts of the country, specifically working in different areas, from social justice to working in a number of areas of banking and different industries to share what we have. And so tonight we're going to be talking about reopening and churches and particularly our ministry. So as people come on, we want to start getting ready for that. And we enjoy being here with you, right?
Yes.
We working.
Enjoying the summer too. Enjoying the summer. It's been hot, a heat wave here. And depending on when the time of the year or when you listen to this, the heat wave might be over. But today we are in a heat wave. And it feels hot. Good. Feels really good.
It's 84 with the sun down. Mm-hmm. So it's quite hot.
Yeah, it was 84 this morning when I woke up and let the dogs out.
Yes.
Pretty steamy.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty steamy evening. Okay. So it's good. It's good. All right. Well, it's 8:31. We're ready to just kind of talk about reopening. Mm-hmm. So folks coming in, we got some folks coming in, which is great. So good to be with you, everybody, and welcome to BLAW Live. And so we're here tonight, and I see a few of our committee members that are here tonight, and just kind of give you a framework of what we're about to do. As we're talking about reopening from Abundant Life standpoint, and we are in the Boston, Cambridge area, particularly in the city of Cambridge. So if you're watching this from a different area, we're in Massachusetts, and we're talking about tonight, we're going to talk about reopening of the church. We had a video that was presented on last Sunday evening, and also you should receive it in the email regarding how we are proceeding with this focus of reopening. And things I just want to stress to you about the coronavirus, as you're looking at different parts of the country and how it's being addressed when it comes to reopening, you're seeing the conversations about schools reopening, you're seeing businesses opening, you're starting to see a number of areas like bars and gyms opening again. And some states have admitted that their opening has been a little bit too aggressive. So as we're looking at states like California, you're seeing states like Arizona, you're seeing states like Texas, and you're seeing states like Atlanta, you're seeing Atlanta, Georgia. And so it's just, you're looking at these different areas, and now you're starting to see how the virus is actually growing and creeping up. I think we have over 150,000 people that have been affected by coronavirus and numerous amounts of death. And I think we are now at Massachusetts, we are just cracked the 7,000 mark. And so we're very aware that it's not going away as fast as we thought. In the beginning, we thought that we'd probably be in our building by Easter. And then it changed from Easter, and then it was pushed out We thought it was going to be Mother's Day. Well, maybe Mother's Day we kind of get some traction on it and get back into the building for Mother's Day. That was in May. But here we are. We are here July 28th, and we're not at that point yet. Some churches have opened in Massachusetts, and some churches have to close again because they have issues when it comes to contracting. Some have contracted COVID in their congregations, and some had to close down because of the protocol was not in compliance, and they were not complying with the protocol set by the CDC, set by their city or town, and so they ended up closing. And some are actually fined. So we're very conscious of and aware that we need to pay attention to our government officials on the federal level, government officials on the state and local level. We need to make sure that we are in compliance and that we are really focused in on making sure that everybody is safe. And so what we've been doing, as I shared in the video, what we've been doing, for those of you who may not have been able to watch it, we're actually working and looking at other ministries and learning from them. And we're making sure that we are getting ideas of what it might be like to go through this whole process of reopening. We formed a team, and we have a great team of people that are sitting around the table to work on different aspects of this reopening plan. And some of these individuals are actually in our stream tonight. And when it comes to this whole idea of focusing and working on this, there are a lot of logistics that have to be in place. So tonight, we'd like you to ask questions if you have any questions or concerns about reopening. You can put it in the chat box. We're also going to give you an opportunity to also voice, and so you can open up your mic in a moment, and we'll have some take your questions, and we'll have some answers, hopefully. And what we don't know, we're not afraid to say we don't know, or we're not afraid to say that we haven't crossed that demarcation yet in terms of where that might be. And if you have ideas, certainly we'd like to hear ideas as well, because we need a lot of minds around this, and we want to be careful. We want to make sure that we're doing it appropriately, safely, but also making sure that you and I, as we're attempting to come back, that we have a great worship experience. We have a great opportunity to really share the gospel, and perhaps, who knows, how long it will last, but we want to make sure that the experience is good, but also everybody's safe. Okay, so just talking about that and just kind of giving you a framework. So I don't know if anything you have to add. You have anything to add when it comes to the focus of this, and as far as even children are concerned? And
well, just to reiterate again, we just want to make sure that we are all safe. So aspects of worship, we have to still follow certain guidelines. Aspect of our children, obviously, and we're still working together. Hopefully you're liking the Kids Corner, and our youth leader is still working with our young people. So we're still working, it's still a work in progress. So I just want you to remind you to please be patient with us. And if you have a suggestion, you can feel free to give that suggestion. Just keep in mind that we have to filter everything through the guidelines and filter everything through the standards about what we can do. So it's not necessarily, if you do give a suggestion, it doesn't mean that we don't want to do it. It just means we need to filter it through all of the processes that it has to go through to make sure that we're keeping everyone safe.
So if you have any questions, or you have any thoughts or concerns, ideas, you can use the chat box if you don't want to be heard on voice. But also you can open up your line and just go and you just kind of press your microphone, and you can ask your question, and we will be glad to see if we can kind of give you a response. And Tonya, while they're doing that, if you want to make any comments, you can chime in on this as well.
Yeah, sure. So I think it's not too much to reiterate how much we are paying attention to the numbers. As Bishop alluded to, we are seeing people taking a step forward and 5 steps back. And we don't want to have to make those kind of very aggressive moves if we do start moving in this direction. So for me, And, you know, and I've been talking very honestly about this, both to my boss and to the members on the team, the numbers, the numbers, the numbers. And as we saw today, yes, there's a huge problem happening in the southern part of the country, but it is heading north. And we still have, what, 6 weeks more summer to go. So that just makes it even more kind of frightening that I'm not sure what's happening up there. I think this is something that frankly only God can really sort out for us in terms of where people's minds and thoughts and decision-making processes are. But please trust and believe that we are going to be incredibly careful and strategic with the decisions that we make for Abundant Life Church.
So if you have questions, you could just shoot them into the chat box, or you can just open up your line at this time and we can just hear from you, what your thoughts might be. And that'd be great. If you have some thoughts on this, things that you're hearing, things that you're experiencing as it relates to opening up.
So there's a question coming in from social media that says, are you thinking about what activities that will not be coming back once we open Abundant Life Church?
Wow. Well, at least for the immediacy, what might not be coming back is the type of coffee hour that we were having. We had our coffee hours on third Sunday, each and every Sunday. And the question is going to be, what's going to be the parameters by which you can serve food and have food in the building? We have a serve safe person that has a certificate, and we try to make sure that when we're serving food that we are very aware of the fact that people have allergies. But of course, COVID is a whole nother story. In many cases, we probably will have to look at, if we ever, kind of try to go back to a normal serving food during a coffee hour, we're definitely going to have to look into what new standards there are. But I don't foresee that we're going to be able to allow people to bring food from their homes. And though they cooked the food fresh, and though they prepared the food fresh, just kind of the rules are going to probably be that we can't do that unless it comes in through a catered certified person. That's probably what we foresee, at least for right now. Another thing that's going to change is that we have to deal with the access. And when it comes to access to the building, and also how people are moving, I think movement through the building is going to change quite a bit. And what I mean by movement is that sometimes we have opened up areas by which people can actually go into, with pretty much without hesitation almost. But now, as we're looking at access to the rooms, who has access to what rooms are going to be actually going to be off limits at what point, because as people are coming into the church, we're going to have to think about, for now, having people register. And so having people's name on a list, so that if someone did have to be contacted for some reason or another because they were part of a worship experience or a small group experience, we have to know who's in the building, when they were there, and also when they left the building. So it's a little bit more accountability for everybody. So that's one thing I can just think off the top of my head of things that are coming and probably won't be coming back, is that we won't have that kind of freedom to come and go without anybody noticing us or anybody asking us any questions.
And let me add to that it's also a issue of the cleanliness of the church, because we will have to be sanitizing every single time someone's in the building. And for order us to be able to do that safely, we need to know where people are. So I think that is also part of the decision of just kind of restricting some areas, at least initially, just so that we can contain where people are and what people are touching, where people are congregating, that type of thing.
And
Go ahead.
oh, no, sorry, I was gonna say, just to add to that, well, I was actually going another direction. Do you want to finish? Are you in the same direction? Why don't you finish then?
Yeah, no, that was it. I'm good.
I just wanted to say regarding the question is regarding what activities won't take place. Right now, they're still saying no singing. So even if we were to gather, we couldn't sing together. That's why you're noticing different guest worship leaders, because the worship team is reconfiguring now, and we're actually looking for some new people that can actually be a part of it. But as you see, people are recording from their homes, because we're not supposed to be singing together. And I say not supposed to be because some of you are watching other churches and you're seeing them with their worship teams and they're singing anyway. Per the guidelines, you're not supposed to be singing. So not as a team anyway. So thus why when we come back, we have to wait to see what the restrictions are. So we may not be able to sing together. That's one. The second, with the children, we're clearly watching what's happening with schools. As you see, the distancing upstairs is our children's area is set up in a way where we can distance. So there are things that can be done, the cleaning, that, but as Sister Tonya just said, that's going to greatly depend on the workers that we have up there, because now someone has to be responsible for sanitation. So you're going to have to be wiping things down, and you have to check in with parents in making sure that the child's not sick if you bring them, or even the staff sick. So there are some things that may not be able to take place, and those are a couple of them, depending on what the guidelines and the restrictions say also. And then there's a question there.
One question that has come in the chat box is what plan for ushering is there for ushering when we return back to ALC? I think the plan for ushering, we definitely need to have people ushering, but when it comes to the ushering plan, the question is, okay, how do we seat people if we still have to do the social distancing? How does the usher work with the personnel or persons that come in, and if they're families, they can sit together if they live in the house together, and how does that work? Entering and leaving the building. There's a way that we have to enter and leave the building. There's a way that the offering has to be received. So ushering is going to have to be a whole new kind of training ground. We have to retrain actually everybody. And when it comes to training, we've had to, as leaders, talk about the training of the entire volunteer base, because there'll be people that are going to be missing, and there are people going to be missing not because they just choose to be missing, but maybe because of pre-existing health conditions. They're not going to be able to come right away. And so as we look at phasing in, and this is one of the things I want to stress as well, that we're not going to try to just come right back. We're going to have a phased in process. So it may be that we're phasing in a certain amount of people who are core to the team that we need to build, and do some training, and do some just kind of take a look at what it would be like. So maybe it would be something like this. If we had maybe an opportunity to have 25, 30 people back, let's say that's just kind of a number. If we had 25 or 30 people back, we could have, of course, the media team would have to be there. The worship folks that will be there, but then it would probably likely be the ushers, maybe security team, and that might be part of that group as well, along with maybe some children's ministry folks as well, because we also have to give you the feel of what it's like. So if we invite everybody in at the same time, I think it'll be a little chaotic, because nobody would know what's happening. You'd be on the same level as somebody who just wanted to come to church and just signed up to come to church. And so I think we're going to have some time that we're going to look for spaces where we actually do some training. That would probably take place on two mediums, a Zoom platform, and then of course you come into the building and say, okay, what is this like when it comes to real life? So ushers definitely are going to be needed, but certainly the function of what they're going to need to do is going to definitely change because of COVID.
And I think we have to get creative here. So I would suggest the ushers to begin to think about it also. So as you're going into stores, take a look at how they're creating sections. So many of us are still shopping, and there's plexiglass there keeping you in a safe distance from the teller, from the cashier. So maybe there's a plexiglass station where, and maybe you won't need as many ushers. It may only be 2 ushers per Sunday or per time when we're gathered. And there's an usher station where you come, as a family comes, they get a number. Maybe the chair or that section is already pre-numbered or pre-lettered or a color. You're in the red section today. You and your family go. And the signage is good so that people can get there. So I would encourage the ushers to even think about it and to be creative about what does ushering look like. And so in the case, the day and time we're living in, I don't think there's a silver bullet answer that's going to come from one person. I think it's going to require a team of people to be thinking and processing. And this is, to me, the blue ocean where you get to be as creative as you can be. And again, take a look at every store I'm going in. I'm looking in, what are they doing? Today I had my bicycle fixed today. And so in the bike shop, we saw how what they did to distance, and they built mini stations for you to go in and get your bike serviced. And so I think we're going to have to be creative, and then also borrow some ideas from other industries for what they're doing out there. So that way we can offer the best usher experience for our children. So I mean, for everyone as they come in. I'm reading in the chat here about children here. So hopefully that's helped to answer that question. I don't know if Tonya, you want to add anything to it, and then we'll go.
Yeah, I mean, just throwing out, ideas in terms of what the ushers will be responsible for. Bishop talked about earlier having this directional path of getting in and out of just even the sanctuary, getting in and out of the building. I mean, all those things are on the table that we're looking at. So, it won't be the way it was where you can either go to the left or the right. Maybe you're just going to the right, and that's the direction how things are going. Same thing with the bathrooms. We're looking at all those different areas that people have to get to and look at what kind of directional assistance we can give people so that folks are not passing each other throughout the day. So I'll read the next question for you guys. Question is, how are you going to keep the children in a state of social distancing, and will there be an age adjustment for children church for the short term?
Yes. How are we going to keep, we're following, again, the guidelines of the state, and we're looking at what schools are doing, honestly, looking at what schools are doing every day and every week. There are guidelines that are coming out. So we're looking at what the school systems are doing. And as I stated earlier, upstairs where the children's area is, they can mark off, and maybe one child at this table, one child over here. The way it's already sectioned up there, they have a good breakout space that they can use. There's also this kind of like, I don't want to say bean bag, but there's kind of like this round area that the seats, the pieces move apart from each other. So it may be that you assign, especially for your regular kids, each kid gets assigned a particular seat. So they know they come, they sit there, similar to what they're doing in school. Snacks are in that spot, everything's done in that spot. So this is where, and I would actually like to say, I think every ministry and every ministry leader should begin to start talking with their teams, and they also should bring some suggestions to the table. How can we do this? And how can we work together? And how can we, in the age of social distancing, how can we do ministry differently? And so I want to encourage each team. And will there be an age adjustment? I think we're going to have to. This may mean some of the older children need to be in church or sitting with their parents, as far as being able to connect, and maybe doing more ministry with the younger children and doing ministry with the older children differently. So back in the day, older children got almost like a kid's bulletin when they came to church, and they were able to follow along, and they were able to have their ministry time. And it may mean we're adjusting the service, even the main service, I should say, or the service the adult service. I don't want to call it adult service, but the service period, to make sure that there's a section for the preteens and the teens, and there's a section for adults. So we're all learning and growing in our ministry together. So yes to that. And I see the comment about the hospital did that in terms of bringing back some staff. They started with the leaders. And yes, I think that's what we may need to do also, is to start with the leadership teams. Great suggestion. And that's what we have been talking about, that, so that the first run are leaders and people who are serving. And then the expectation is in those leaders are getting poured into, and then they're able to pour into others. So it means we're really going to have to do ministry very differently than how we have been doing it.
Yeah, one of the things I will say is that because of the pandemic, and coupled with the issue of just dealing with the issue of racism and all the things that have transpired and are still going on, we had to learn very, very quickly, and to pull together even our streaming capabilities. That was kind of one of those things we had to accelerate very quickly, because we never streamed before. We actually did any kind of online service ministry. And so to learn formats and to be able to preach. And if you notice, there's a lot of changes that we've done, and the technology that had to go into it, and developing the staff people to actually learn the technology. And we were learning things every single week. And sometimes we were kind of falling out our faces as you saw it, and said, hey, I can't hear, and I can't see, and I can't this, and I can't that.
The blooper reel is real, y'all.
So we had the blooper reels and all these other things that were going on. But at the end of it, it was, we're still learning, and we're still getting, and hopefully that you're enjoying it, and that we're getting better, which we're seeking to get better every week. And it kind of goes into the next question, where is there a plan to engage and build community for folks who will only connect with ALC virtually, or they live in another state and found ALC online during the quarantine? People have been pre-existing conditions. The answer is yes, because that goes into this kind of vision that we have, because now the church now has to now take on a global perspective. So our global perspective is that we're not only just getting people to tune in to our ministry, and we've been looking at the analytics. Most of the people are tuning in from, of course, the Cambridge, Boston area, but we do have people tuning in as far as the Caribbean. They're watching us, and I get some responses from Texas and responses from California, different areas, New York. And so as we're looking at this, God is giving us an opportunity to reach and to share with globally. And so look for this as we start to go forward, as we have a discipleship model that we're going to be following. And we'll talk about that a little later, about the discipleship model that we're following. We just started, and I think it was this week, where Tony and I got together, and we started talking about our platform. And you need to start looking forward to some new things happening. And Tony will talk about that. I'll leave that to the technology person to talk a lot about the particulars. But I just want to kind of just forecast some things, and just kind of just push some things out there, since the question came up, that we're now going to be starting to look at what does it mean to be a life development discipling church that's also local and global, because people are interested, and they are communicating with us. And we want to be faithful and good stewards with all that we have. I think that God has really blessed us in a number of ways, even during this pandemic. And so we want to be faithful to what he has given to us. And that is, he's given us the ability to actually connect with people. And what I will also be doing is looking at contacting people who were part of our ministry before, and they had to move away for some reason, whether it's work, or they went back home, maybe it was take care of a loved one, but they're still another part of the country or the world, to contact them and say, hey, you know what? You can be a part of ALC. You can be a part of Abundant Life Church, and being a part of our virtual community. And so as we're still going to be doing meetings, we'll be meeting in a number of ways. If we can't meet, in a small group, in a locale, that we can meet online. We have Zoom capabilities. We have a number of areas where we can meet online and have some fellowship and pray and study together. So I think on a positive note, this whole thing has given us the capability to be a global church. And that's what we're aiming to do. Now, the thing is that we're going to need leaders. We're going to need to raise up more leaders in many different areas to lead small groups, to lead prayer groups. I have some real passion for raising up leaders in this season. And so when I start to call for leaders and I start calling, you don't want to say, oh, no, not me. I'm going to make a wide open invitation to say, okay, if God has tugged on your heart to lead and God has tugged on your heart to be an influencer for the kingdom, this is your time. This is your season to kind of roll with it. And so this is a great opportunity for all of us to really step up in a number of ways to invite people to be a part of our community and to learn and to grow and to disciple others.
So yes, it's a great answer to the question. Yes, there is a plan to engage and build community. First step is making sure the technology is there to be able to do so, because as you may have been seeing, some ministries and churches who are just using either Zoom or just trying to do it without the proper website and the technology in place, it makes it difficult to do that. Some of the larger ministries that you see that have all of these online spaces, it's because the back end, the infrastructure is in place. So right now the time is being spent to build the infrastructure. At the same time, there is a discipleship team that's working and they're putting a plan together of what discipleship will look like in those spaces. And the other piece that we've been talking about, Bishop and I and Minister Devin, is what is it looking like to even equip the leaders of those people? So as Bishop said, the call for the leaders, but we don't want to just have people working, because the online space is different. It's different than, and it's same for in person, but still when you're connecting with people, we also see, and this is where we had left off even in the strategic planning, there needs to be a space where leaders can be developed, where you can be poured into, so you don't feel like you're just giving, and you're not getting anything either. So we also have to build a community for those that are leading that beyond just Bishop, myself, Minister Devin. It has to go beyond us into a new set of people. So yes, we want to see that continues on and takes place. So there are multiple things being developed on multiple levels.
And I just want to talk quickly about what Bishop alluded to in terms of our global reach. And we are really right now putting in that infrastructure to really kind of upgrade and change the way that we communicate with each other. The reality is that we don't know what the next several months are going to bring. We don't know what next year is going to bring, but what we do know is that we have developed something now that we can build upon. And so at least my focus right now for the next several weeks is to really start to look at how we can engage more, we can notify people quicker, people understand what's happening at a drop of a dime. Everyone knows what's going on at any point, and people can engage with each other. So it's not just you see your pastors on Sunday, you get a word and then you go about your business. No, we don't want that to be the experience of Abundant Life Church. We want there to be systems in place, apps in place, technology in place that we can continue to build on this incredible legacy that the church has. And that is fellowship, discipleship, ministry, all those wonderful things that people miss. I miss it too, even though I'm there all the time. But I know that this is what we're all kind of like growing towards and building towards. So I'm very excited about what the next several weeks will be. Stay tuned. Next question. So there's a comment from that saying, perhaps we can do online altar calls and people being available for prayer. And so, yeah, I think that's exactly what Bishop and Pastor Virginia are saying. And I think that we are right now building that type of technology and infrastructure so that we can do those types of things. I think that's an incredible idea. Next question, will people have to do the same COVID attestation that are being used in some institutions? This is actually Pastor Virginia's team, so I'll let you talk about that.
That we're still working this out. So to some degree, yes, because I don't know if you saw on the national news today, there's a church in California. I don't know if it was San Diego. I believe
it was San Diego. They had a baptism.
They decided to take church outside. They did a baptism, but there wasn't much social distancing. And so now there's churches are being written up. So we're trying to avoid churches being written up. So we're going to have some sort of procedure in place, which is going to ask you some questions prior to service. And then, as was stated, you'll have to sign in. We need contact information. For those of you, especially that are going to be working with people physically, you're going to have to be very mindful about what you do, where you go, and how you're handling your life. So, for instance, those of us on the team now, on the media team and on the ministry team, we're very mindful of what we do during the week. Greg and Tonya, Minister Devin, Bishop, myself, we're very mindful of who we're around, where we're going, because we know that if any of us come in contact or any of us come in contact with COVID, it's going to affect everybody around us. So we have to be mindful of that. So that's a long answer to say, yes, we are going to put some of those things in place. Exactly what? It's still being determined. And so, yes, we're not going to ignore what's happening. We're going to be mindful of it and put in place what they're asking of us to do at the church. So just be open to that. Yes.
And it is mandated by the state. I don't know if anyone has gone out to a restaurant or anything, but you have to give a name and a telephone number when you go to an establishment where you're being served. It is mandated by the state. This is the only way that if, God forbid, somebody was infected at the church, this is how we have to get in touch with everyone. So I know that there are a lot of privacy issues and debates going out there. And I think that we just need to understand that opening the building means that we are responsible for the people who are in the building. And so the way that we have to do that is by creating these logistical systems by which we can gather this information. And again, if need be able to communicate with people quickly and effectively.
Yes, and I would just encourage us to see it as we're doing this to be safe for all of us. We do not want the name of the people of God to be, oh, I got COVID from that church. Right. So we depending on how you look at it, fortunately or unfortunately, we're all going to have to be mindful of our brother and our sister. So it's a new reality. I remember traveling 2 weeks after like a month after 9/11, and travel was very different. Mm-hmm. And I think we just need to adjust our mindset that when the building does open, church is going to be very different, and we are going to have to put some of those things in place.
The next question, for people who don't have access to a computer, what will be done for them that they can still engage, even if it's just for the Sunday service? This is a great question because Bishop and I talk a lot about access and making sure that the people who may not be either have access to a computer or may not be as tech savvy, that somehow they're still being connected and we're getting to them. So these are the things that we're working on now that's going to make it very easier for folks to stay connected. If you have a cell phone, that's great. If you don't have a cell phone, we're going to put in place methods by which that you can still remain connected. And maybe that's part of our fellowship and discipleship, is that, we identify folks who may not have this access, but still need to get informed about what the church is doing and the services and opportunities that we're providing.
Yeah, and I think that one thing that if we have something in place where we use our conference call prayer line in some way, shape, or form, even beyond the 6 days that we use it, that can probably be a instrument by which they can actually listen to the service by phone. Unfortunately, it doesn't give them the ability to do chat features and those kind of things, but at least they can use their phone almost like a radio, kind of like a radio, to be able to hear the service. So we haven't also looked into other resources that may be out there as well, that can also be helpful in helping those who don't have access to computers or maybe not as tech savvy to be able to listen to a service. So if you do know some mechanisms and those kind of things that we could actually help those who want to listen and want to be a part of the engaging of the service, engage with us during the week or in the service, just please let us know and we can kind of look into it.
And maybe this is again where the body becomes creative. And some of us have computers that we don't use. Some of us have multiple monitors, and it may be something. And maybe this is where people come together and gift and love on someone and gets a basic computer and sets them up. So it's not just a computer, it's the internet. There are levels of things that can be done to help the body and to help people, especially those who it might be a financial issue or it might just be I'm just not familiar with technology issue. So this is where it could become an intergenerational, it could become a co-family thing. So I think this is where we get to be creative as a body to help support those that don't have those resources.
Okay, so if you have any questions, you can put in the chat box, or you can open the line and just ask the question. We can certainly hear you. So you can do that if you have any questions on kind of what we're thinking about as we start anticipating the time that we can reopen.
And it may be helpful also to hear from you, how as you are enjoying the services or as you're attending the services online, and as especially was talked about community, as we're seeing this as we were all thinking this was going to be a temporary thing, but now it looks like this is going to be a way of life. How can, and maybe the question we ask of you is, how can the church help support you by building community? Are there ways that the church can support you in building that question that was asked earlier, building and engaging in community? Because this means we have to make time for ministry differently, because it can't just be on leadership. It has to be leadership and members and reaching out to others. Are we reaching out to other people to even invite them to attend the service? Are we sending the link to other people? Will we do the same for, we know people have asked for Bible study, people have asked for meetups and online, and to be able to grow and to check in spiritually. So that could be something that people do as well.
So the questions that came up was, talk about small groups and discipleship as it relates to Abundant Life Church. And one of the members of the strategic team is on here. I'm going to ask Minister Devon to unmute, and maybe she can just give us just kind of general overview of what we're thinking about in terms of meeting in smaller groups, discipleship in smaller groups, with social distancing, with understanding all the different parameters that we have to deal with. So I will ask her to unmute.
Hi. So just in regards to everything that's been said, just piggybacking off of that. So being a part of it, some of the things that we are considering, because we know that community is important, we are looking at developing, minding that we can do small groups and all of that, and being coherent to the regulations. We're looking at the possibilities of small groups that could potentially be within people's neighborhoods. So where in the vicinity of where you live, there's also interest. So it may be by age for some of our young professionals, or I know the question was also asked around there's people who don't necessarily have technology, and what does that look like? So these are some of the things that we are looking at as well as what Pastor Virginia has already talked about when it comes to, what does a Bible study look like? And so really looking at some emerging leaders and people who can help assist with that, going through a vetting process, but just looking for people who feel that's a part of their call. And so ultimately, we are looking at different options. And again, it would be helpful if you do have ideas to please let us know so that we can, work through all of that, because we do understand that this has been a process that no one expected. And so we want to make sure that we are still connecting with one another and developing that community.
Great, thanks, Devin. When it comes to the next question, I think it kind of dovetails into it about looking at occasional outdoor services where people can social distance. Even if it comes in smaller groups, the answer is that yes, in that group that Minister Devin and others who are coordinating in that thought process through bringing groups together. One of the things that we have to make sure that we do, even with groups outside, where are they meeting? What location are they going to be in? In meeting, even if we did something, okay, let's say the parking lot. Even in Cambridge, they're actually doing a lot of restrictions when it comes to social distancing and things that you can do. They definitely don't want you to do any singing. And even if it means if you're trying to meet in different places like a park, they're not issuing any kind of permits at all, so that you can't meet to do any kind of like activity type of things. So it's Cambridge is a little bit restrictive in a lot of different ways of what you can do. So they're going to look into ways at least have groups of people that can meet, and if there's enough space and if it kind of coincide with what the regulations are, well, sure, it's all well and good. But we're only going to be able to consider outdoor activities for so long. As we start to move towards the fall, as the weather starts getting cold, it's going to be a little bit more of a challenge. One of the things inside the building, even, they want you to make sure that you do not put on air conditions, and so that you do have to have windows open. So as long as they have that rule, the question is going to be, all right, it's fine when the weather's nice to have the windows open, but like imagine having a Sunday morning service on today where it's 95 to 100 degrees and you can't run the air conditioner. All you can have is a window open. Or if it's kind of getting cold and you got to have the windows open, how do you keep people comfortable and warm in a fall situation where probably 10 o'clock service is going to be kind of cool. So we're really watching it and really trying to make sure that we do the best that we can with the conditions that we have to work under. But to answer your question, we're looking into ways and means that people can gather as much as possible, but also being consistent with the guidelines that we're under.
And when it is in smaller groups, so once the city does give, because that's been a major question of churches regarding, can we have outdoor services? And they have not issued the permits. They have restricted permits very seriously. And even though we have our own parking lot, they still have guidelines in place that are still restricting us. So, and then they've asked you to be mindful of your neighbors if you're doing anything outside music wise. You're talking, you can't talk loud. They don't want you amplifying the sound. So all of the restrictions have just really tied our hands, unfortunately. So the thing would be, if there is something outside with smaller groups, please don't be offended if you're not chosen, because the selection, so then the next place is, what's the selection process for the smaller groups? Because if you choose these people, then these people get upset. So it's been this is an interesting season that we're in. So yes, the short answer to your question is yes, we have considered it. The problem is the restrictions, and where now, again, that discipleship team is looking at, or I should say that small group discipleship team is looking at the how and the when. And Lord willing, we can get something in before the weather changes, but we're all watching the restrictions. And I don't know how it is in other towns, because I know we all live in different towns, but it's when you see on TV some of the services that people are having, those towns are a little more lenient. I've seen some churches doing services outside, meaning in their parking lot. So people are in the cars and you've got the pastors on the church step and they're projecting outside, but they're not in residential neighborhoods. They're in different types of neighborhoods that they're allowed to do that. So yeah, it's hard.
But that's a good question. So, you know, and I do know that I wouldn't be surprised if there's going to be even a tighter restriction. Of course, now they're making everybody wear masks. They're trying to set up a national, you know, it's like everybody wears masks now. Because even with the social distancing, people are not paying too much attention to that. As you saw on the boat cruise that they had in Boston, that made national news. That was like, people were just not respecting social distancing. And so I wouldn't be surprised if they really try to limit the amount of people that are gathering in different places. I know just driving by the beach the last few days, it was just kind of ridiculous. People didn't have on masks. Nobody was respecting social distancing. And I can kind of see down the road that they're very concerned about that. And they may just begin to put a little bit of more restrictions on, you know, people meeting and gathering in such big groups where there's no social distancing or masks being worn.
Would like to encourage you though, if you have other family members that are Christians and you can gather in your backyard or front yard. I've seen some people outside in front of their houses where they have a large front yard. Please connect with your family members. You can have mini church services with each other and share the word. What is God doing in you? What is he saying to you? And sharing that one with another. And hopefully this can be a time where even families are being built up in faith. I've seen on YouTube where children are praying for parents, and not just parents praying for kids, but children are praying and children are reading the word, and even some children are preaching. They're giving the sermon. And when their families have devotions together. So I want to encourage you again, be creative where you can with your family and those that you know and you can connect with. Be creative and put the spiritual demand on one another. So there's a comment here, Spinelli seems to rent out their parking lot for service. I'm not sure what town that they're in. Oh, that's in Malden.
Oh, they're in Malden.
Okay, all right. Yep, so the Malden may have different regulations. It's great point, something to know. Thank you for that.
Yeah, and here in Leominster, because Sears closed and what was the other one? Sears closed and Macy's closed. So there was a huge parking lot there, and every Sunday they have a huge outdoor service there. I don't see a lot of social distancing, but it is outside. So I think that people are getting a little creative with it, but you know, there was singing, there was, you know, it was very tight knit. And as much as our just natural instinct to be with one another, I think we have to really think of what consequence really means. I talk about this with my kids. I talk about this with Javier. You know, Greg likes to go fishing. I'm like, well, how many people are going to be there? So he has to go like all hours of the night. But it really is. It's just too much that can go wrong. And if you're like me and have some pre-existing conditions, it's frightening. I don't go out. I go from here to 47 Howard Street and that's it. But we have to start thinking about, you know, respecting each other and really kind of taking care of each other during this time as well. It's not just, oh, I don't want to get sick, but I don't want to get that person sick, or I know I've been somewhere and I don't want to infect somebody else. And really just kind of looking out for one another is kind of what I want to see happening more.
And I think we can use the tools of technology. And I know I hear people say, well, I'm zoomed out by the end of the week. What I've started to do is, and I do have a little bit more control over my schedule than others, I'm being intentional about when I'm scheduling my Zoom meeting so that I have something left for the weekend or I have something left for the evening. So I'm trying to say, like, I'm no more Zooming. By 4 o'clock, I stop my work meetings so that when I get back on in the evening at 7 or 8:30 for the BLAW Lives, I have something to give in the evening because I want to connect with my brothers and sisters. My work connections online are getting stronger. I want to see my faith connections with the people that I worship with get stronger. So it's good to, when we are together, to not just see a name, but to actually see your face. We're seeing each other's homes, we're seeing each other's backgrounds, where we don't do the virtual background, but we get to see a little bit about your home and, oh, show me your new kitchen, or, oh, is that your living room? Is that your dining room? So we're actually, if we handle this right, we can learn more about each other. If you're watching the Kids Corner, you can see what's happening behind. So you know what kind of potato chips that that Jabari likes, and you know what kind of, you see Tanika and her son, you see them there doing the Kids Corner, and you see, okay, she's got her teacher kind of space there. So you get to see what's happening. So we can use this technology to actually grow, but we've got to cut out time and be intentional about it and cut out time for our faith space. And so it means, I think we have to rethink and do our lives a little differently so that we can make sure that we're growing even in this space and inviting others in also. So yeah, I'll stop there. But we get to be, I think, I see it as a creative space. Our team does a check-in on Fridays called Tell Me Something Good using different themes. That's great. Yep, tell me something good. Yes, that's great. Using different things.
Anyone who wants to share their video right now, please do so. You can have a nice little quick check-in in our last few minutes of the video. Hey!
How are you? Good to see
There
you.
you go. Like the braids. There you go. There's
Hey,
Sharon.
How are you?
Hey.
There you go.
Seeing a few people come out.
Here's Mo. Hey,
There's
Mo.
Maurice.
You did a quick pop in.
Quick pop up.
There you go.
Cool.
Hey, Rose.
There's Rose. How
Rosie.
are you, Rose? Yes, yes, yes. Good to see you. See, it makes a difference. You get to, and this may be something, you know, it's with Sunday morning, and maybe this is one of the things you've talked about with the coffee hour, is to do after service, check in with each other. There are some churches that do that. So yes, yes, we see folks that are on here. Good to see you. Who else is going to show in?
Jonathan.
Hey,
What's up, guys?
There you go.
Chilling.
There you go.
Look
See,
how people's face just light up when we see
hi, Astrid.
Astrid.
What's on?
Look at the smiles coming through. It's awesome.
It is.
Good to see you,
Awesome.
everybody.
So this is where we get to be creative. And yeah, anybody want to say anything before we go? I got a couple minutes. Sister
Holder's there.
Hey,
Sister Holder.
There you go. Oh yes, her husband. Yes.
Hey, this Andy.
Brother Andy. Yes.
Whoa.
Show them you and me.
Hey.
Hey, Lauren.
Hey, Lauren.
Soon to be Mrs. I see soon to be Mrs.
Yeah, she does it. Well, she husband and
Soon to be Mrs. is on.
There you go.
You got that they could see you.
Yeah.
We can't see you anymore, Sister Holder.
Sister Holder, we can hear you. So we can. You signed off, I think, on your.
Oh, that looks good. I don't know what you're eating there, Lauren. Look good.
She's making something.
Cooking. There you go. But
That's so cool.
these kinds of check-ins, I know the men have had a check-in, the ladies have had a check-in. So it might be good to have a church-wise check-in. Oh, there you go. Yes, we see Orville. There you go.
I showed you pictures. I look at Andy, look.
Yeah. There you go.
You know, and folks who want, if they don't have their own Zoom account, they should contact me because I can set up something for smaller groups to meet on Zoom. We have an account through the church. It's not just for me and Bishop. It can be used for other groups. So as long as it doesn't conflict with anything else, give me a call. You want me to send something up, I'll send the link out to your group. Just let me know. It's so nice to see all these faces.
It's good to see you all. But soon, I'm sure, we're praying that we at least can see each other in person and meet somewhere, even if it's in my backyard or something. You know, have you guys over in my backyard and kind of do a outdoor thing, quick outdoor thing, pass through and pick up something to eat and good fellowship and not just outside.
That would be nice.
Yes.
Yeah. That'd be cool.
We have rocking chairs.
We got rocking chairs. So all the old people can sit in rocking chairs.
I want some fresh vegetables from Pastor Virginia's garden.
Oh yes, they're still growing. I have plenty of basil. So anybody that wants some basil, I got plenty of basil. I have cilantro. My lettuce is going good. Tomatoes are coming out. I have to see what my beets are doing. But yeah, so I got good.
That's her project. That's her project that's keeping her very busy.
Mm-hmm.
Amen.
My summer squash is coming in so lovely. I can't wait.
Oh, nice.
Huge. They're
Nice.
huge.
Nice. Yes. We do need, you're right, Rose. We do need to use this time to get closer to each other. We do. We very much need to do that. So and we're not taking advantage of this and we need to. So I would say when the times are there, make yourself available. Don't feel guilty if you're not available at that time. And maybe some of the things for now we could do is just schedule times instead of just waiting for the Tuesday night, schedule the times. And if you can make it, cool. And if you don't make that one, try to make the next one. So.
Yeah, so we can put on some times where it's even maybe it's a Thursday night. You kind of just do it, check in, whoever wants to come. That's fine. And just hang out and have some conversations and share and pray and do whatever you want to do. Kind of leave it open. That's cool. But we will also have an organized Bible study from looking at 6 weeks. We're going to take a look through the book of James, because I think that the book of James is a really special book to me in this time, and it's really about faith in the real world. How does our faith actually get lived out in the real world? And I think where James talks about, he deals with just prejudice, he deals with trials, he deals with all kinds of stuff that's really in the real world. And we have to live our faith in the real world. And so Bible study, we'll do that in August. I think it was on August 20. We're going to do it on Thursday night for just 6 weeks and just kind of run it through for 6 weeks. It's going to be a time where we can share, time where we can pray together around the scriptures and learn some things. So I think it'll be good. And
last but not least, there is a church night out coming via Zoom. So there's a team working on the church night out via Zoom. It will, and so more information will be coming about that. Hopefully during the weekend, you'll hear more about that. So just stay tuned for that. So, and with that, we're going to say so long. And congratulations again to Lauren. She's going to be getting August 15th. All right. And Betsy Collins getting married on the 8th of August. So congratulations.
We got like double weddings in August.
Crystal's getting married.
And Crystal's getting married
August 8th.
Yeah, same day. August 8th.
There's 3 weddings, three brides to be. So we'll be blessing them because we want to make sure they're all blessed. So in a nice world, we would have been able to really give them a nice shower, but we're just going to bless them and shower them with love. So yes. So, all right, everybody. So thank you so much for being a part of this, and we'll keep you informed. We're going to keep you up to date as we move along. So have a good night, everyone. Bless you guys, and I look forward to being on the prayer line tomorrow, and as we're praying together at 6 a.m. So have a good night. Thank you, Tonya. Thank you, everyone. Thank you,
Thank
everybody.
you. Good night. Bye.
Bye. Good to see
Take
you.
care now.
Bye.
Bye.
Pamela. Konnichiwa.